This guy has fun in the booth. His name is Dave Lapham, Bengals Radio Analyst, former O-lineman as well. Infectious energy. Dave, Tiki and Tierney, Modest Teak today. How you doing today, bud?
Good. Always a pleasure to join Tiki and Tierney, even though we're Tiki-less today.
No, I got you. Listen, we always go to you every summer, and it's always good to have you back. And I think you've got a great perspective on this team. You know, everybody knows what the numbers were on Joe Burrow a year ago, and you saw what you saw not only during the first games before he got hurt, but also during camp, during the real infancy of his rookie year. Do you believe that Burrow is to the Bengals like is it quite the same as Herbert with the Chargers, or do you think Joe is a tick below before he got hurt? What were you seeing before he got hurt?
Yeah, I was seeing a guy that had the answers to the test. You know, I mean, the thing that most impressed me about Joe Burrow, even as a true rookie in the National Football League, is he loves the grind. I mean, he thrives on it. He is literally the first guy in the building, the last one to leave, and he sets a standard that elevates everybody else, I think, in terms of their preparation. So the amazing thing to me was through the course of the 10 games that he played in, he really never looked like he was confused, surprised, any of those kind of things. He had tremendous poise. You just got to balance it out a little bit more. Throwing the football 40 times a game is a tough proposition for anybody. And I thought that you have a guy like Joe Mixon, who ended up being injured a good part of last year with a foot injury. He's back. And the JoJo show, Joe and Joe, those two guys should feed off each other. And if they can get a good running game going, a sound running game going, and take some of the pressure off of Joe Burrow, I think that's going to be a pretty good formula. And interestingly enough, today Zach Taylor just made an announcement. Joe Burrow will play in the third preseason game for the first time this preseason.
Good.
He will make the dance. Now it's a home game.
Yeah.
And it's almost like when the Bengals played down in Tampa, they had Tom Brady come running out there. They just won the Super Bowl in Tampa, then first time back with all the crowd going crazy. Tom Brady comes out and he only plays a series and gets sacked to conclude the series. But the energy was unbelievable. I think that's what they're looking for. It's a first home game in the preseason. Have Joe Burrow come out there. I think it's going to be a handful of plays or less, probably 3 to 5 snaps max. And you can control the narrative. A couple of run plays, throw a screen, get them out of there.
Sure.
If they move the chains first down, bring in another quarterback, and just let the place feed off of that a little bit and let him get in the huddle with, teammates. And there's some new teammates in that huddle. And, go through the communication process with the game helmet and just all those things. Just check as many boxes as you can. You don't want to check that box, though, where he takes a big hit. You don't want to do that in that last preseason game, that's for sure.
Yeah, and this is good news. I mean, this is good news here because they're getting ready. Week 1 is not too far off, and we all assumed he would be the Week 1 starter against the Vikings, but this obviously confirms it as long as he comes out of the game unscathed coming up this weekend, the third preseason game, the final one, obviously. We're talking to Dave Lapham of the Bengals Radio Network, offensive lineman from the early 70s into the mid-80s, Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. I was talking about the Bills earlier, and this we'll see eventually, if the Jets have it right with the new head coach and the rookie quarterback and a GM who I think is pretty good in Joe Douglas, at least early signs. But the Bills are a better example where you've got the GM in Bean, who's good. You've got the head coach in McDermott, who's good. You've got the quarterback in Allen, who's good. All three assets, and that where their arrow's pointing, their trajectory is quite favorable. Whereas with the Bengals, I'm not saying that it's not the case, but are you convinced? I know they have an unconventional GM kind of a role, more of like a director of player personnel, if I'm not mistaken. But when you look at the three most important positions for a football organization, the GM, the coach, and the quarterback, Burrow can play. We know that. Do they have the other two components right, Dave?
I guess that can be interpreted as this year's the key year for all the components. Duke Tobin is the guy you're talking about that basically has orchestrated his drafts, and he had 5 straight drafts that led to 5 straight playoff appearances. I mean, he was in charge of the whole whole boat back then, and had a pretty good run. Now, the last couple of drafts, I think they put a couple of pretty good drafts together, and we'll see what they've done in free agency. They've been very aggressive, spent a lot of money, over $100 million 2 years in a row. they've turned the franchise over. I mean, there's 2 defensive starters left from 3 years ago. Sam Hubbard and Jesse Bates are the only defensive starters left from the Marvin Lewis era. I mean, they've turned the whole thing. So now it's that's Duke Tobin's doing, obviously, and Zach Taylor involved with that. Now he's got his guys. He's got his young quarterback. Now it's time to step up. And listening to you before we came on together, I agree with you. The division, you could be a 2-4 football team in the division, be a pretty damn good football team, but that division can be brutal. I mean, you got Cleveland twice, you got Baltimore twice, you got Pittsburgh twice. I'm telling you, man, it
tough.
could be one of those. Oh yeah,
it's tough,
one
dude.
Of those situations where an 800, I mean 500. There's no 500 anymore. 8 and 9 football team, could be a pretty good football team, but be 2-4 in the division and have no shot at any kind of hope for the playoffs down the stretch.
That's correct. No, you're absolutely right. I want to ask you, you don't have to spend too much time on this, but I am curious. Obviously, we have a national show. We're on many stations in Ohio. Ohio's been very good to Tiki and Tierney for years. If you had to describe, not their enthusiasm, I know Bengal fans are fired up on game day at the Jungle. It pops pretty well. But, like, right now, like, not only this year, but historically speaking, are Bengal fans predisposed more so to be optimistic, or do you believe that they skew more inherently negative? I'm a Jet fan, so I know how most of my brethren, like, we always expect, like, Carl Lawson. We get Carl, like, gets hurt. Like, it's like, can we ever have anything nice? Do Bengal fans, are they more optimistic than not? I'm curious how you would answer that.
Yeah, I think cautiously optimistic is a way to brand them. I mean, I think that every year they're thinking that this could be the year. There's no question about it. I think overall the percentage of the fan base falls into that category, and the diehard fans are about as diehard as anywhere in the National Football League. There's no two ways about it, and obviously haven't won a playoff game in a long time, but in the 80s, I mean, it was rocking in Cincinnati. It was rocking as good as anywhere. So everybody loves a winner. There's no question about that. But, the franchises that support teams that have struggled for a long period of time, those are the fans that, that really earn their stripes as such. And in Cincinnati, they have earned their stripes as a fan base.
Yep, very resilient. Listen, I'm saying this with a smile, so hopefully it doesn't come out the wrong way. But did Jamar Chase forget to pack his hands from college to the NFL? Every day I'm reading a case of the dropsies, the fans getting on him. I'm not overly concerned, but what do you attribute that to? Why is he dropping so many passes?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, in games, Joe Burrow's not the guy throwing the football that he had that great relationship down there in LSU with, but it's very catchable football. I don't want to make excuses. He dropped 3 third-down opportunities in the last preseason game in Washington that he could have had, and it's one of those deals where you get in your own head. You're thinking too much. It's like you're fine until all of a sudden the ball's working its way to you, and you start thinking about things you shouldn't be thinking about.
Yeah,
and you're just going to have to get away from that. And repetition is a cure-all on that thing. And I've seen, great receivers have those kind of slumps, those kind of, periods of time where, again, they just can't catch a cold. Hopefully that's what it is with him. I know the last couple of practices he snapped out of it pretty well. So hopefully it's a phase that he's just gone through and made an adjustment to. He said that he needed to speed up his eyes. He sat out. He took a year off with COVID, and he hasn't played since 2019. So particularly at the NFL level, the speed of the game, I think he was having a little bit of an adjustment to that, and sometimes that can affect, your ability to catch the football. But he's an immense talent, and hopefully he can get over that the case of the dropsies as you described.
Yeah, listen, we've seen Steph Curry go 0 for 9 from downtown, or have a rough month where he shoots 29% from behind the arc instead of 40-something%. We've seen great golfers miss cuts. I mean, talent is not, it's there every single second of every single day. There's still a mental component, and Jamar needs to work through that. Having said, and I expect that he will. But Dave, my position pre-draft, especially because of how Joe Burrow's season ended, I mean, I was thinking offensive lineman for you guys, pardon me. And I know somebody who made his money as an old lineman. I would imagine you shared the same thought prior to the draft, right?
Yeah, I mean, Penei Sewell was the guy. Detroit ended up taking him. The Bengals did not. And we'll see how those careers unfold. But I guess you can make a case for either. You can plead the case, no question about it, that either one of those guys would have fit. But all the analytics, if in fact Chase has a career that tracks along what they're expecting, and Sewell has a career, it's hard to compare analytics of offensive linemen and wide receivers in terms of their importance to winning football games, wins above replacement kind of thing and all that.
Yeah.
They're saying if both of them go along the career path that is expected, that Chase will have more value to his football team. We'll see. I mean, in my opinion, it all starts up front. I agree with you. I mean, I think the offensive line, I would have not been the least bit disappointed if they had selected Penei Sewell.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not a big fan of orange. I mean, I love orange at Halloween, but I got to tell you, I have always liked the Bengals unis. I know they've kind of had a few varieties over the years, but when you guys are playing home and the place is packed and you got a good team and you got the jungle background in the end zones, the black and the orange, the helmets, it pops. I'm kind of digging the gear still.
I'm telling you, it was funny. In 1980, to 80 to 81, it's when the new uniforms, the new stripes came on the helmets and the new design on the jerseys and everything. And 1981, we're like, man, we better play well. We could get a lot of grief if we go out there and lay an egg. And I'll be a son of a gun. We win the conference championship, AFC championship, and lose to the 49ers in Super Bowl 16. So I mean, that was the first year of the stripes. So I mean, the stripes came on strong from an organizational standpoint. And, and you're right, Paul Brown, who was a visionary in so many ways. I'd say the Bengals helmet, the Rams helmet, those are so recognizable. It's one of the more recognizable logos in the National Football League, and that's exactly what Paul Brown was looking for. And there's no flies on Paul Brown, I can tell you that.
And that AFC Championship game that you referenced, wasn't it like minus 25 degrees that day?
It was 59 below wind chill.
59?
Yeah, coldest game in NFL history. It was 9 below raw temperature, and the wind was whipping in off the river, and it was 59 below wind chill. It was crazy, man. I ran around for 3.5 hours and never broke a sweat. It was just unbelievable.
Oh, man. Santa, you hear that? 59 below zero. Well, listen, we'll be watching. Big stories here. The coach, obviously, you got to start winning some games, and we'll see what Coach Taylor does. Burrow healthy. He's going to get some snaps this week, and that's a great story. Jamar Chase, let's see if he can remove the drops from his repertoire. I would imagine that he will, and we'll see what you guys bring to the table. I think you guys will score some points. That should be fun. A couple of fantasy players I know that my audience has their eyes on, but again, tough division and progress, will not always be. Eventually, it will be, but maybe not every week for you guys and a few other teams measured in W's this year. That's just a brutal division. Dave, appreciate it, buddy. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.